You already know the truth. You've always known it. The world doesn't distribute outcomes based on who deserves them. Kindness gets exploited. Honesty gets weaponized. Loyalty becomes the knife someone uses to stab you when you turn around. This isn't pessimism. This is pattern recognition. Every day, someone in your orbit is calculating. That colleague who mirrors your ideas in meetings isn't inspired by you, they're studying you. That friend who asks too many questions about your plans isn't curious, they're mapping your territory. That family member who says they're proud of you while their eyes tell a different story. They're not confused, they're conflicted between wanting your success and resenting that it isn't theirs. The game is always happening, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you participate or not. The only question is, are you a player or a piece? 5 centuries ago, a man watched power change hands like currency. He observed princes rise from nothing and kings fall into obscurity. He studied the mechanics of influence the way a surgeon studies anatomy, with cold precision and no room for sentiment. What he discovered wasn't pleasant, but it was true, and truth doesn't care about your comfort. If that man lived now, he wouldn't waste breath complaining about unfairness. He'd move through your world like smoke, present everywhere, graspable nowhere. People would think they understood him until they realized they never did. They'd believe they were winning until they noticed all the important decisions somehow aligned with his interests. I'm about to show you 7 principles that separate those who shape reality from those who simply endure it. These aren't theories, they're operating systems, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. Law 1. Incompleteness is armor. The moment someone can fully read you, you're done. Not because they're malicious, though some are, but because complete information eliminates mystery, and mystery is the space where respect lives. Your strengths, once fully visible, they become targets for replication or neutralization. Your weaknesses, once mapped, they become the precise points where pressure gets applied. Most people don't realize they're walking around as open systems, broadcasting every vulnerability, every desire, every fear to anyone paying attention. The dangerous ones understand what people don't know about you can't be used against you. They move through life like icebergs, showing just enough above the surface to be interesting, keeping the bulk of their mass hidden below where it can't be assessed or attacked. This isn't about lying, it's about editing. It's about understanding that not every question deserves a complete answer, that "I'll think about it" is often wiser than immediate transparency, that silence, when wielded correctly, says more than explanation ever could. Watch how much people reveal when they're nervous. They fill gaps with information. They over-explain. They think verbosity equals honesty. But every additional sentence is another data point someone can use to predict your next move. The truly secure speak in fractions. They give you enough to satisfy social protocol, never enough to eliminate uncertainty. When people can't fully categorize you, something shifts. They pay more attention when you speak. They think harder about what you might be thinking. They treat your opinions as if they carry weight because scarcity creates value. Your words become rare currency instead of cheap noise. Law 2. Master yourself or be mastered. The instant you lose composure, you lose control, not just of yourself, of the entire situation. Because the person who stays calm while others unravel holds every advantage. Emotion is a tell. Like in poker, it reveals your hand. When someone can trigger anger in you, they've found a button they can push whenever it serves them. When they can make you defensive, desperate, or afraid, they've located the leverage point that moves you against your will. Most people are walking bundles of reactive patterns. Say the right word and they explode. Apply the right pressure and they crumble. This predictability makes them easy to manipulate because manipulation is just calculated stimulus and response. The ones who dominate understand something crucial. External chaos doesn't require internal chaos. You can observe disorder without embodying it. Someone insults you? That's data about them, not a referendum on you. Someone betrays you? That's information about their character, not a requirement that you match their energy. Composure isn't suppression, it's transmutation. You feel everything: anger, hurt, frustration, but you don't let those feelings dictate your response. There's a gap between stimulus and reaction, and that gap is where power lives. Most people react in milliseconds. The dangerous ones insert space. They feel, they process, then they choose their response based on strategy, not emotion. When you don't react the way people expect, you short-circuit their script. They've been conditioned to believe that if they push hard enough, you'll break. When you don't, when you respond to provocation with unsettling calm, they're forced to recalibrate, and that recalibration costs them momentum. Silence plus a slight smile is more devastating than any comeback, because it signals that their attack didn't land, that you're operating on a different level, where their provocations are background noise, not main events. Law 3. Become infrastructure. Power doesn't flow to the popular, it flows to the irreplaceable. The person everyone can function without will eventually be functioned without. The person whose absence creates immediate problems has built something more valuable than affection: necessity. Look around your environment. Who actually holds influence? Not who has the title or who's loudest, who has leverage. It's the person everyone needs something from, the one with knowledge no one else possesses, the one with connections that can't be replicated, the one whose departure would create a vacuum no one knows how to fill. This is invisible power. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply is. And its existence creates a gravitational pull that affects every decision in its orbit. Your goal isn't to be liked. Likability is cheap and easily transferred. Your goal is to embed yourself so deeply into the systems around you that removing you becomes more costly than tolerating you. This works in careers, relationships, social circles, any domain where humans interact. Make yourself the solution to recurring problems. Develop skills others can't easily acquire. Build relationships that run through you as a node. Create value that's recognized even by those who don't particularly like you, because people can hate you and still need you, and need creates durability that affection never could. The brilliant part: once you're infrastructure, betrayal becomes unlikely, not because people are loyal, they're not, but because betraying infrastructure hurts the betrayer. You can't burn down the bridge you still need to cross. Law 4. Identity is fluid. Core is steel. The world is theater. Everyone wears masks. The only question is whether you're aware of the mask you're wearing, or whether you've confused it with your face. Those who rise understand something uncomfortable. There is no single authentic self. You're different with your boss than with your friends, different with strangers than with family, different in crisis than in comfort. This isn't hypocrisy, this is sophistication. The mistake is thinking authenticity means sameness across all contexts. That's not authenticity, that's inflexibility. True authenticity is being genuinely yourself while adjusting your expression to be effective in different environments. Sometimes you need to appear harmless while you're actually 10 steps ahead. Sometimes you need to mirror someone's energy to build rapport before redirecting it. Sometimes you need to seem uncertain when you're completely certain, to make others feel comfortable revealing their position first. This isn't about being fake, it's about being strategic. A diamond has many facets, but it's still one diamond. You have many modes of expression, but you're still one person. Your values don't change, your integrity doesn't shift, only your presentation adapts. The powerful move through different rooms wearing different faces, but the core remains untouched. They can be charming at dinner and ruthless in negotiation, warm with family and cold with enemies, humble in public and calculating in private. Each version is real. Each version serves a purpose. People who lack this fluidity get crushed by their own rigidity. They insist on being themselves in every situation, which really means they're too lazy or too proud to read the room and adjust. So they lose negotiations by being too honest. They lose respect by being too familiar. They lose opportunities by being too consistent when adaptation would serve them better. Law 5. Initiative is dominance. Hesitation is fatal, not because action is always right, but because the one who moves first writes the rules of engagement. The one who moves second is already playing defense. Opportunity has no patience. That promotion you're waiting to be ready for, someone less qualified just took it while you prepared. That relationship you thought would wait, someone else made the move you were rehearsing. That business idea you're perfecting, it's already launched by someone who understood that execution beats preparation. The world belongs to those who act while others deliberate. This doesn't mean recklessness, it means
Law 8. Scarcity commands attention. Constant availability is constant devaluation. When you're always there, always responding, always present, people stop wondering about you. They stop valuing your time. They start taking your presence for granted because it costs them nothing. The powerful understand a counterintuitive truth. Absence increases value, not random disappearance, strategic withdrawal. You're present with impact, then gone. Available when it matters, unreachable when it doesn't. This creates a rhythm that keeps people slightly off balance, never quite certain when they'll have access to you. This uncertainty triggers something primal. Humans assign value based on scarcity. The rare resource is the desired resource. When your attention becomes something people can't assume they'll receive, they treat it differently when they do receive it. Watch what happens when you step back from a relationship, a workplace, a social circle. Those who barely noticed you suddenly notice your absence. Questions arise. Where have you been? Becomes, is everything okay? The space you created gets filled with curiosity, and curiosity is the beginning of respect. But this isn't about playing games. It's about protecting your energy and attention as the finite resources they are. Every moment you give to someone who doesn't value it is a moment stolen from someone or something that would. Availability should be earned, not assumed. Distance also provides clarity. When you're constantly immersed in situations, you lose perspective. Strategic absence lets you see patterns you couldn't see from inside. It reveals who genuinely values you versus who just values what you provide. It separates authentic connection from convenient proximity. Law 9. Opposition is instruction. You will be resented. You will be opposed. You will have enemies. This isn't a possibility, it's a guarantee. The moment you rise above average, someone will resent that rise. The question isn't whether you'll face opposition, but what you'll do with it. The weak fear enemies. They spend energy trying to convert them, appease them, or avoid them. The strong study enemies. Every attack reveals something. Every attempt to undermine you shows where they think you're vulnerable. Every criticism, no matter how petty, contains information about how you're perceived and what gaps exist in your armor. Your enemies are unpaid consultants. They're obsessed with finding your weaknesses. They analyze your moves. They discuss your flaws. They're doing reconnaissance you'd have to pay professionals to conduct. And they're doing it for free, driven by their own resentment. Instead of anger, feel curiosity. What does this attack tell me about my positioning? What does their strategy reveal about their own vulnerabilities? How can I use their opposition as fuel rather than drain? Some of the most successful people deliberately maintain enemies, not because they're sadistic, but because enemies create useful dynamics. They keep you sharp. They motivate when motivation flags. They advertise your existence to people who might not have noticed you otherwise. Your enemy talks about you constantly, to their friends, their colleagues, anyone who listen. They're spreading your name, building your brand, making you memorable. Your response? Keep rising. Let your success be the statement. Let their obsession be proof you're already winning. Law 10. Loyalty is economics, not emotion. People stay loyal as long as it serves them. This isn't cynicism, it's observation. Today's devoted ally becomes tomorrow's betrayer when the incentive structure changes. Human nature is self-interested. Altruism is rare, situational, and fragile. The powerful acknowledge loyalty when it appears, but they never depend on it. They reward it, small gestures, recognition, access, but they never confuse appreciation with trust. Because trust based solely on past loyalty is a vulnerability waiting to be exploited. Real security doesn't come from expecting others to remain loyal. It comes from making disloyalty more costly than loyalty. When someone's position, income, reputation, or future depends on maintaining good standing with you, their loyalty isn't a choice, it's a necessity. That's the only loyalty you can rely on. This means building systems where people benefit from your success and suffer from your failure, where betraying you means harming themselves, where their interests align with yours not because they're good people, but because the incentive structure makes alignment logical. Always have contingencies. Plan for betrayal, even while rewarding loyalty. Keep options open. Maintain multiple relationships so no single defection cripples you. This isn't paranoia, it's operational security. And when betrayal comes, and it will, don't waste energy on shock or grief. Just recalibrate. Remove the betrayer's access. Adjust your system. Move forward. The game doesn't pause for broken promises. Law 11. Competition creates intensity. Security breeds complacency. When people know their position is guaranteed, they relax, they stop trying, they take you for granted. The powerful never let this happen. Create subtle competition. Let people sense, not know, but sense that their place depends on continued value, that your attention can shift, that alternatives exist. This doesn't mean being cruel. It means being strategic about creating an environment where people remain engaged. When people compete for your approval, time, or resources, they move differently, with more urgency, more creativity, more intensity. They're trying to stand out, which means they're giving you their best instead of their minimum. This applies everywhere. In business, employees who feel secure often plateau. Those who sense competition innovate. In relationships, the partner who feels completely certain of you often stops investing. The one who knows you have options continues courting. In social dynamics, friends who assume permanent access become careless. Those who understand access is earned stay respectful. The key is calibration. Too much competition creates toxic anxiety. Too little stagnation. The sweet spot is just enough uncertainty to keep people sharp without making them desperate. Let your attention be a prize, not a guarantee. Give it generously to those performing well. Withdraw it subtly from those coasting. Never explain this system, just let it operate invisibly. People will adjust their behavior without conscious awareness that you're managing the dynamic. Law 12. Silence destroys noise. Words are abundant, silence is rare, and rarity creates power. The person who feels compelled to fill every gap with speech is giving away information, revealing insecurities, and diminishing their own impact. When you stay silent, multiple things happen simultaneously. First, people project onto that silence. They fill it with their own assumptions, fears, and expectations. Second, they become uncomfortable. Silence creates social pressure, and pressure makes people reveal more than they intended. Then, when you finally do speak, your words carry disproportionate weight because they're unexpected and therefore valuable. Most people can't tolerate silence. They experience it as tension and rush to relieve that tension with words. This is exactly when they expose themselves, when they say things they didn't plan to say, agree to things they didn't intend to agree to, reveal information they meant to protect. The powerful use silence like a scalpel. In negotiations, it makes the other party nervous. They start making concessions just to fill the void. In conflict, it's more devastating than any comeback because it signals you're unbothered. In relationships, it creates space for others to wonder what you're thinking, which makes them more attentive when you engage. This isn't about being antisocial, it's about being selective. Speak when your words will have maximum impact. Otherwise, observe, listen. Let others exhaust themselves with explanations while you gather intelligence. A silent person is a dangerous person because silence suggests depth, control, and hidden knowledge. It suggests you know something others don't, and that suggestion is often more powerful than anything you could actually say. Law 13. Eliminate problems while they're small. Ignored problems don't disappear, they mature. That minor annoyance becomes a major obstacle. That small betrayal becomes a catastrophic blow. That weak rival becomes a strong threat. Time amplifies everything you don't address. The powerful are unsentimental about threats. They don't wait to see if problems will resolve themselves. They don't give enemies time to organize. They don't hope that small issues will fade. They act decisively while the problem is still manageable. This requires vigilance. You have to notice patterns before they become crises. The colleague who subtly undermines you in meetings, address it now, before they've built a reputation at your expense. The friend who consistently violates boundaries, cut them off before they do real damage. The family member whose jealousy occasionally flares, create distance before it turns into active sabotage. Mercy towards growing threats is cruelty towards yourself. Every day you allow a problem to exist is a day it becomes harder to solve. The tumor that's easy to remove when small becomes terminal when you wait. This doesn't mean paranoia, it means clear-eyed assessment. Is this person's behavior a pattern or an anomaly? Is this situation trending towards resolution or escalation? Does this relationship add value or drain it? When the answers point towards
Law 15. Perception precedes reality. People don't respond to who you are. They respond to who they think you are. This isn't unfair, it's mechanical. Perception shapes behavior, which shapes outcomes, which reinforces perception. The loop feeds itself. If people perceive weakness, they test boundaries. If they perceive strength, they hesitate before challenging you. This happens before any actual demonstration of weakness or strength. The perception alone creates the dynamic. The powerful understand this deeply. They manage perception as carefully as they manage reality, maybe more carefully, because perception often matters more. You can be objectively strong, but if you appear weak, people will treat you as weak until you prove otherwise. And having to prove yourself means you're already playing from behind. This means controlling your presentation even in difficult moments, especially in difficult moments. When you're struggling privately, you maintain composure publicly. When you're uncertain internally, you project decisiveness externally. When you're hurt, you appear unbothered. This isn't dishonesty, it's strategy. You're not lying about your circumstances. You're refusing to broadcast vulnerability that others will exploit. You're protecting yourself by controlling what information enters the social system. Your posture matters, your tone matters, your facial expressions, your word choice, your timing, all of it contributes to the story people construct about you. And that story determines how they interact with you, which determines what opportunities and threats come your way. Appear strong even when you're rebuilding. Appear certain even when you're deciding. Appear calm even when you're calculating, because the appearance of these qualities creates the space and time to actually develop them. Fake it until it becomes real isn't motivational nonsense, it's operational psychology. Law 16. Build before broadcasting. Real power develops in darkness. The people who announce every move, who broadcast every plan, who celebrate every small win, they're the first to collapse, because they've made themselves visible before their foundation is solid. Attention is a spotlight. It reveals everything it touches. If your structure isn't ready for scrutiny, that spotlight exposes weaknesses your enemies can exploit. The powerful build in silence. They acquire resources quietly. They form alliances privately. They develop skills without announcement. By the time the world notices what they've built, it's too late to stop them. The foundation is poured, the structure is up, The network is established. All that remains is the public reveal of what's already inevitable. This requires patience that most people lack, because humans crave validation. We want credit for our effort. We want recognition for our ambition. But that premature recognition costs us momentum. Every time you announce a plan, you dilute the energy that should go toward executing it. Work in silence. Let results speak. When people ask what you're working on, be vague. A few projects, some ideas I'm exploring. Give them nothing to latch onto, nothing to critique, nothing to steal or sabotage. And when you finally reveal what you've built, make it undeniable. Make it so complete that debate is pointless. Don't show people your foundation while you're pouring it. Show them the finished building and let them wonder how you did it. Law 17. Fear maintains order. Love is comfortable. Comfort breeds carelessness. When people feel completely safe around you, they eventually test limits. They grow bold. They become disrespectful. They assume permanent access to you with no cost for bad behavior. A calculated dose of fear prevents this, not terror, that creates resentment and resistance, but a subtle understanding that crossing certain lines has consequences, that disrespect won't be tolerated, that access can be revoked. This creates useful tension. People remain alert. They think twice before overstepping. They maintain a level of respect that pure affection never generates, because fear activates calculation, and calculation prevents the careless boundary violations that affection allows. The powerful make consequences clear without stating them explicitly. It's in how quickly they cut off someone who violated trust, how completely they withdraw from those who showed disrespect, how final their decisions appear once made. People observe these patterns and adjust their behavior accordingly. You don't need to threaten. Threats are crude and often illegal. You just need to demonstrate through action that certain behaviors result in certain outcomes, that your boundaries are real, that your standards are enforced, that your time and attention are privileges that can be withdrawn. This isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You're teaching people how to interact with you successfully. Those who learn, stay. Those who don't, exit. The fear isn't of you, it's of losing access to you. And that fear keeps relationships functional in ways that pure affection never could. Law 18. Information architecture is power architecture. The person who controls what people know controls what people do. Information isn't just power, it's the mechanism of power. Every decision, every action, every alliance is based on information. Control information flow and you control outcomes. The powerful are information brokers. They decide who learns what and when. They never reveal everything to anyone. They give each person only the information necessary for their role, nothing more. This prevents anyone from having a complete picture except them. This isn't about hoarding information for its own sake. It's about understanding that complete transparency eliminates leverage. When everyone knows everything, you have no edge. But when you're the node through which information flows, every exchange passes through you. You see patterns no one else sees because you're the only one with the complete data set. In professional settings, this means being the person who knows things others don't. Not through corporate espionage, through careful observation, relationship building, and strategic positioning. You become valuable because you can answer questions, make connections, and provide insights others can't. In personal relationships, it means understanding that you don't owe everyone your complete truth. Some people get surface-level information. Some people get deeper access. Very few get full transparency. And that tiered access is how you protect yourself from those who would use your information against you. Even misinformation can be strategic. Sometimes letting people believe something false serves your purpose better than correcting them. They make decisions based on flawed assumptions, which creates opportunities you wouldn't have if they knew the truth. Law 19. Cut ruthlessly, climb quickly. Weakness spreads, it infects. The low-energy people in your orbit will drag you toward their level. The negative voices will colonize your internal dialogue. The excuse makers will normalize mediocrity until you start making excuses too. Your environment is not neutral. It's either lifting you or lowering you. The powerful are ruthless about environmental management. They audit their circles constantly. Who adds value? Who drains it? Who pushes them toward excellence? Who enables their worst tendencies? Anyone who consistently drains more than they contribute gets cut, not with drama or explanation, just quiet removal. Calls go unreturned, invitations get declined, access gets restricted. The relationship doesn't end explosively, it just fades because you stopped feeding it energy. This applies to habits too. The habits that make you soft, distracted, or weak need elimination. No negotiation, no "I'll start Monday," no gradual phase out. Just stop. Because every day you tolerate weakness in yourself is a day you're not building strength. People will call this cold. Let them. Their opinion matters less than your trajectory. You're not here to maintain comfortable relationships that go nowhere. You're here to build something that matters. And building requires materials, the right people, the right habits, the right environment. Audit everything. Remove everything that doesn't serve your mission. Keep only what makes you sharper, stronger, clearer. This isn't antisocial, it's self-protective. You can't carry dead weight and reach the summit. Choose the summit. Law 20. Predictability is vulnerability. When people can anticipate your moves, they can counter them before you make them. When they understand your patterns, they can trap you within them. When they know your rhythms, they can exploit them. Predictability hands control to anyone paying attention. The powerful are deliberately inconsistent, not chaotic, that's different, but inconsistent enough that people can't map your next move. Sometimes they're visible, sometimes absent. Sometimes they respond immediately, sometimes they make people wait. Sometimes they're warm, sometimes distant. The variation keeps people off balance. This creates psychological pressure. People waste energy trying to understand you instead of using that energy against you. They're playing defense, trying to figure out your game, while you're playing offense. In conversation, inconsistency works. A well-timed pause, a sudden shift in topic, a response that subverts expectation. These patterns disrupt people's scripts. They can't run their usual programs when you're not following the expected flow. Change your routines occasionally. Alter your approach without announcement. Show up in unexpected places. Disappear from expected ones. Let people wonder. Wondering means thinking about you, and making people think about you is the first step to influencing how they think. The calculatable person is the controllable person. Be